Welcome and a big hello. Thank you for joining us for these series of powerful conversations with women talking about the other side of the birth portal. I'm your host, Katara Sky, and I'll also be sharing just a little something here on why this passion project came to life, what I'd hoped to receive in these conversations, and leaving you with something as well. And the most divine timing of all is that when I started these conversations and recording them to the end, my last speaker, Jane, that I recorded recently, I had actually traversed to the other side of the birth portal. So we welcomed our baby son, Ryu, just less than a week ago. So I'm delighted in the timing of everything in starting the project and being able to speak both from my intentions as I started this as maiden, or what I still felt was maiden, and now truly as mother of many things, but also now mother to a baby dragon son named Ryu. So welcome. Thank you for being here. So, part of the passion and reason of bringing this series together was that I felt there's so much preparation available out there now around birth. So many experts, so many opinions, so much prep that we do. And I felt a lot of it was to prepare us more physiologically, physically, even. The things that we need to do to be ready. And for those that might know me, I'm an intuitive healer, channel, author, cosmic weaver. For me, I've always been more fascinated, and I don't want to say more, fascinated with the integration of how our rich spiritual life can really impact and inform how we believe that we are living out our 3D and our normal everyday life. So I was really keen to explore the dimensions of pregnancy, both from this physical, physiological, really human experience, but also from that spiritual experience. What does it mean to have traversed to the other side? How do we change as a person? Not just in our roles and identity in society and now that you're a mother, but spiritually. How does that inform us? And for me, I had journeyed a full year with Jane Hardwick Collins in her School of Shamanic Womancraft. She is one of our honored speakers. And part of that was also to explore all the inner realms. How much have I dealt with myself in order to be ready, if we ever are really ready for birth of our children? How we relate to our bodies, how we relate to our blood, how we relate to the idea of birth and what we are birthing. So that's just some of that high level context of why I was thinking of this series, and in particular about the specific women that I have asked to interview. I feel that because as we are birthing our children, we are not only just birthing our human babies and projects and businesses, but we are also birthing newer, evolved, the next version of ourselves, the next version of ourselves. And these powerful women have been a significant part of my journey as well, helping me to really know who I be, helping me to uncover pieces of me so that whatever readiness that I could have just this past Sunday to ready me for birth. Now, of course, these special women have been there for me, and they were relevant and pertinent maybe for my soul stories. And I believe that for each and every one of you, there will be different healers, facilitators, coaches, people in your life that are very impactful and meaningful to the uncovering of who you be. I'm delighted to also share the commonality that we have, which is all linked to a little bit of dragon energy. I met Fabian in the Dragon Thunder Summit 2 years ago, where she was a speaker. I was a speaker last year, for the love of dragons and our connection to maybe that energy. Araya is one of the teachers that helped me to merge with my dragon self as well and understand, like, what does that actually mean? And of course, I met Dragon for the very first time when I was in the Four Seasons journey with Jane, when Dragon was my overarching guide. And of course, the branding that I've finally emerged with is Awakening Dragons. Not because everyone is one, but for the symbolism and the archetype that dragon can represent in the consciousness of everyone, of the world, of humanity. Now I feel like we're more ready to receive the cosmic. And I believe that dragon symbolizes many things, but of some of the big themes that are more notable, dragons are representing, those cosmic realms. They are the creatrixes, creators. They've been there since the origin of time. They are the masterful manifestors. They are symbolic of transformation and many other things. So there's a theme that kind of unites us throughout. I want to also mention that, of course, we are not just intuitive women. And I think each and every one of the teachers, in their wisdom wishes, ask that we trust ourselves, of course. But I also have noticed that there is a really big theme of the last year. And for me, as I was really in this transition of maiden to mother, I was noticing all the stories, all the soul stories. And I think that's what I want to focus on in my little share and conversation with you. Now, I didn't really feel that I was fully in mother phase of my life. And I refer to the phases and the archetypes, maiden, mother, maga, and crone. In Jane's conversation, she goes into it a little bit deeper. But even though I am in the mother phase of life and mothered many things, I always still felt maiden-like, in the sense that until I actually had the birth of, a child, I didn't really feel fully in that role, in this role. And that is not to say that for those who choose not to have children, that they won't feel this mother phase, not at all. And we talk about that in some of the conversations as well. But I feel that as you listen to these conversations, to speak to yourself as well, to notice the maiden in you, to notice the mother in you, and if you are maga or crone, and how those different aspects of you show up, how those different aspects continue to show up, because you can be maga, crone, and still mother. You can still be maiden and be accessing your crone wisdom as well. Okay, back to soul stories, and that's really something really interesting for me. Now, as a practitioner, I have been used to seeing and experiencing and helping people with their past lives. We do regressions, subconscious things, beliefs, energies, stories come up all the time. But in particular, I noticed that not only was I quite intrigued by the information and stories that I was getting during pregnancy, I'm actually absolutely fascinated that these are the stories that can help us to explain why we choose the families we choose. Our blood family, our parents, our siblings, and then our partners, and how we create the next generation. Why this child? Why that child? And so I've really developed a keen interest in evaluating, exploring these kind of soul stories, and I just wanted to share a couple with you and see if you might also start sensing that you have really great soul stories with your children, with your loved ones, and if they explain the masterful teachings that they might have been called into your life to help you to realize. In the first, one of the first workshops I did with Jane, it was called Shamanic Dimensions of Pregnancy. And in one of the activities, we did a shamanic journey to connect to our soul babies. Now, this would have been well over a year or two before I actually got pregnant. And I remember vividly that I think I already had received the name of the child, but the spirit ally that I kept seeing was this white cockatoo. And that journey, it had just landed for me that, the white cockatoo keeps coming to me because that is the spirit ally, or or even her. It was a female soul baby at the time that I was tuning into. It was her coming to me, and that's why I kept seeing cockatoo. And not long before that shamanic journey, I'd actually birthed this drum. And I'm not sure if you can actually see the face of it. I'm just trying to get it to the right. It's actually the cockatoo here with the beak there and the little tuft of his hair. And it was so obvious when I made this drum that it was the cockatoo, and everything just made sense. And that was starting to converge this energy of my baby daughter that was feeling the call to come in, and I felt really connected to cockatoo and really listening to the soul of the baby. I just probably should mention that I gave birth to a son, and now that's another little interesting story, a negotiation between the souls on who was going to come first. The second thing I'll share is that this baby, who is having a nap upstairs, had traversed and traveled to 7 countries already, being in my womb. And in each of the countries were different feelings, different energies, and also different insights that were coming through because I traveled most of my second trimester. So for example, when we were in Australia where he was conceived, Australia has been the land of my most significant self and soul development. We traveled to Japan, and it was so profound when I was in Japan, all the connection with dragon, with water, with the clouds. And I really felt, oh my God, this is a dragon baby. I mean, not to say, of course, this is a dragon baby because he's born in the year of the dragon, but it was really like a dragon. It was the dragon energy. And everywhere in Asia, and in particular in Japan too, dragon was everywhere. He was in all the temple entrances and structures and statues in honoring of dragon. And then I would go and visit this lake, and it would be, there's a myth that there was an evil dragon here, and then it became the protector of the village. And so it was everywhere. And I just felt this profound connection that this soul of the baby was really connected to dragons, but also to the land of Japan. There was a reason that we were called to go to Japan. By the time I arrived in Canada, it was all the familial healing that I needed to maybe get into or release. And then I went to Mexico, to Chichen Itza. I'm probably butchering how I say it, but it is near Tulum. The temples and the land of the feathered serpent. And, there's a relation between the serpent and dragon energy. And I just felt, oh my God, it's so profound. And there was this awakening again in me of remembrance. And of course, some of this is probably for me, and some of it is initiated because it's needed, because baby is also arriving. And here we find ourselves in Italy now, in front of Lake Como. And then I had another dragon sister message me and say, oh, do you know the myth of the Dragonsaurus, something or other that is the creature here in Lake Como, a little bit like the Loch Ness monster, but the dragon of Lake Como. I'm like, no, of course not. So what I'm trying to say is, that like everywhere you travel, there are lots of key codes to the land, and there's probably no coincidence that I have been such a wanderer. I have been to 64 countries and still counting. No new countries in the last 5 years, unfortunately. But there's stories for you to remember as you travel, and I felt that this baby needed to pick up those stories along the way as well for it to like traversing to its readiness, it needed to remember, help me remember these stories on its way. I had a healing session where it was revealed to me that I had called Ryu in, that I had called this great being to help me to unfold into all I be. And when I tuned into that, the message definitely rang true. And I saw this imagery of, if you guys know Harry Potter and what a port key is, right? You touch it and it takes you, it transports you somewhere. And I felt that our son was like the last piece in our little trio right now, my husband, myself, and my son, and that the three of us joining together form this port key that can transport us to this higher timeline or help us to elevate to what we're actually here to do and to be able to do it. And it was so clear. I am very much still just at the edge of uncovering what soul stories and reasons for Ryu to be part of our family and to keep unraveling that. Because even though I'm on the other side of the birth portal, everything is still landing. Everything is marking just another beginning. And that's one of my takeaways as well to leave you with. It is a birth portal, but it is also a death portal to the things that we think we are, to the identities that we hold about ourselves, to the versions of us that no longer are. I think it's important to always bear in mind about this great cycle. I mean, a transformation cycle will have a beginning, a middle, and an end. We'll have a birth, we'll have its time, and we'll have its end. So as much as it was a birth portal on my altar, I also had skulls and things to honor that this is a dying of parts of me as well. And there's very much of that Phoenix energy as well that complemented dragon, which I find again very interestingly symbolic, and especially in my culture, the dragon and the phoenix, the great yin and the yang. And that's exactly what it is. There is the birth and there is the death, the duality of things. And as we become more conscious of our soul stories, we can be more aware of what they are activating, what they're helping us to heal, and the layers of understanding ourselves. And I ask that you leave space for the things that you don't know and to allow mystery and magic to unfold and to show us our destiny. I feel that this birth portal, and I hope you enjoy the conversations with the other women that have spoken so profoundly and so deeply, and especially because they've had lots of time probably to reflect. Whereas I still feel like I'm still in it. I'm in a postpartum little bubble and still understanding, still grappling with what does it mean to be on the other side of the birth portal. We are dreaming our world into being all the time. Our visioning, our creation, again, dragon energy and creation. And I want you to know that you are very resourced in your innate power, in your capacity to create the birth that you desire, to create the life that you desire. I think that our soul stories are going to be a very fascinating component to understanding who and why we birth what we do and ourselves. And it is all part of knowing thyself so that we can master ourselves. So wherever you are in the cycle, whether you are maiden and in preconception and thinking about it, or don't even have a clue or not interested in birthing children, whether you are in it in mothering phase, which doesn't end because once a mother, you'll always be a mother, or you are becoming, wiser and wiser woman, there's so much wisdom and transformative power that traversing through this birth portal can enable. And I hope that you feel inspired through some of our stories and our sharings. I hope that you are curious about your soul stories, about what they can reveal for you, and to intimately know that birth isn't just a physiological process, but a deeply, deeply spiritual one definitely an empowering one, and always opportunities for us to heal, to activate, to be more whole, and to be more of who we are destined to be. Thank you so much for being part of this series. I hope you enjoy them. Please look out for my book, which is being channeled at the moment, Dragon Mother, Phoenix Daughter, expecting to launch next year. And please do check out all of the sites and links and offerings of my honored guests. Sending you lots of love.